He's Jeffrey Cooperstein. I am Harrison Graham. It is mailbag time here on Dallas Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. If you have a question, send it in by using the hashtag Mavs or Super Chat function. Free agency, trades, whatever your question is, we will answer them. We'll start with Vanya Todorovic. I think trading for Ayton is unrealistic because they are asking for Josh Green or Jaden Hardy, who are, in my opinion, both better than Ayton alone. I wouldn't go that far. Like, in a vacuum, Ayton's the best player of those three. Now, I understand the argument to not include Hardy or Green in an Ayton trade because, look, I've always said this. Don't get too emotional for role players when you're trading for a star. But Ayton's not a star. He's a good player, but he's not a star. So I understand not wanting to include Hardy or Green in a trade up to this point.
I would consider Green. I would not consider Hardy at this point in time. I think Hardy is way too valuable, and I project him to be a 20-point-a-game scorer at some point. So
yeah, I mean, I want to see at least another year of Hardy and see what he could become. From Daniel Moriarty, THJ, JaVale McGee in a second for Jared Allen. If that's not enough, throw in the 2027 first. You'd have to throw in the first. Like, the Cavs are not going to take on Hardaway and McGee in a second for Jared Allen. Like, that's not enough. Like, Coop, we know the Cavs have liked Tim Hardaway, but they also just signed Max Strus. So
yeah, they liked Tim Hardaway at last year's trade deadline. The Mavs and Cavs were definitely in talks for Hardaway, but nothing came to fruition as well. And like you said, they just signed Max Strus, so that doesn't really work anymore. I would love Jared Allen. I think he fits what the Mavs are trying to do. I didn't realize this. Apparently, he's only 6'9". He's not 6'11". The afro just makes him look very much taller.
Hey, it all counts.
It all counts, I guess.
From Sam Fogel, do you think Luka will request a trade if the team doesn't gel? I think this offseason has bought the Mavericks probably another year at least. I mean, Luka was talking to Kyrie, convincing him to come back, so he would kind of look like a fraud if less than a year in he requested a trade. Now, if they're bad this year, I think like the clock really ramps up going into next year. Like, if they're bad this year and start next season poorly, Coop, I think at that point it's like it could be nervous.
Yeah, it could get dicey if they don't have a good year this year. Maybe they don't make the improvements they expect next offseason as well, and then they go and start struggling in the 24-25 season.
I mean, to me this year, the Mavs need to make the playoffs and probably win a series. I mean, like, they're good enough. They have a good enough roster if it all comes together to do that. They made the conference finals, in my opinion, with a lesser roster than this, or at least a comparable one.
I don't know. I mean, because you still had Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson as well. So that was a pretty damn good roster. But like they should win a series this year.
They should at least
win a series.
From Chrome Zone, is it realistic to expect 15 points per game from Jaden Hardy in his sophomore season? I don't know. I mean, look, in a role where he was in and out of the rotation, he averaged, 8-9 points last year? I mean, if he's playing 20 minutes per game consistently, I think he could at least give you 12. 15 might be a leap. Because the question I would have, Coop, is he going to shoot 40% from three again? I mean, he was not considered a sniper coming out of the G League for the Ignite that 1 year. I think he probably regresses to the mean with more volume, probably 36, 37%. But if he's taking 5 threes a game and getting to the rack some, I think 12 to 15 is possible.
And the other question I have is how much is he going to play? Jared Dudley talked earlier this week about what he needs to do to get on the court more often. It's basically all on the defensive end and his off-ball awareness. So if he figures that out, I think he'll be trusted more by the coaching staff to get more minutes, and maybe he does get up to that true six-man where he is playing 30 minutes a night.
Over under 20 minutes per game next year for Hardy?
I think it's got to be over. It's got to be over. If it's not over, then there's a problem. Okay. That he didn't develop in the pace that they thought he would.
Predict Jaden Hardy's stats for next season. Let us know down below. I'll say 22 minutes per game, 12.5 points per game, 2.5 assists per game, 44% from the field, 36.5% from three. Very specific there from yours truly. Jacob8808, do you think the Mavs are better than the Celtics? Hashtag Mavs. I would still lean Boston because say what you want about the Celtics, the duo of Tatum and Brown is pretty proven. I know Jaylen Brown didn't have a great playoff run, but they still were one game away from the finals, and the year before made it to the finals. And they've added Kristaps Porzingis. Now, I still think there's questions with how the rest of that roster fits, Coop, but I think I'd still have to lean Boston. I mean, they've consistently been a top contender for several years now.
Yeah, it's still got to be Boston. Until the Mavs make it to the Western Conference Finals 3 out of 4 seasons, I mean, it's going to be Boston until further notice. We'll see what happens with Jaylen Brown after this season. If Boston moves on from him, I mean, that can change. But as of right now, I just don't see that being the case.
For Mr. Ben 77, can the Mavs trade for Deni Avdija and go for Gafford, Daniel Gafford for Tim Hardaway, JaVale McGee, 2027 first and 2 seconds. So all 3 picks you basically have, Tim and McGee for Avdija and Gafford. Is Avdija and Gafford worth all 3 of those picks plus the salary match? I mean, they're pretty good.
They're good.
Avdija,
I like Gafford a lot.
Avdija's kind of just been okay. Like, I think he's a good bench rotation guy. Like, I do think he'd be in this rotation if he was here, but he's not, like, we've kind of been waiting for that leap, and it hasn't really come up to this point.
He's not a needle mover, is at what it is at the end of the day, and he's also very young. The Mavs just need a guy who isn't developing. They need a guy who's ready to play and hit the ground running.
Weren't they giving him, like, poor man Luka comps coming out?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, he's a guy that can
play style similar.
He can kind of do a little bit of everything now. He's not really a point guard, though. He's more of a combo like 2-3 almost. So they're kind of different, but at the same time, I think Avdija is going to be a good player in the league, just not right for the Mavs at this time.
Subscribe to the channel. You want more Mavericks videos here on the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're plugging out videos every single day. And hey, if we get more subscribers, we'll do more live shows like this and answer more of your questions. So join the family here at Mavericks Today, and we'll keep it moving. From Roni, favorite Maverick is my favorite player, Kyrie Irving, then Luka. So Roni is more of a Kyrie fan than Luka.
I wonder how many people are Kyrie is already like in their top 5 Mavs of all time, like favorite Mavs.
I don't know if it would be as many as you would think. Like, I'll just go through my top 5 of all time. Dirk 1, Luka 2, and then probably about 7 players from the title team.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
I mean,
Kyrie's got a lot of work to do.
Marion, Jet, Chandler. I mean, freaking
Deshaun Stevenson.
Yes, defensive bull, Deshaun Stevenson. And then, there's other guys over the years, too. I mean, when Nash was here, Josh Howard.
Shout out Chandler Parsons.
I mean, I love Chandler when he was here. And look, Kyrie is, in terms of, like, best players to ever play for this franchise, sure, but he's played 30 games. Like, I think we got to see him be here for a full season and win some.
Let's win some games next year, and let's get to an All-Star game next year, Kyrie, and then we can start talking.
Let's go. Bobby Watson, do you think trading for Siakam would be worth a rental, get rid of a first-rounder, Tim Hardaway and McGee? Oh, I would do that in a heartbeat. I'd throw the 2 seconds in there, too. I know there's the report out there that Siakam's not going to commit to a contract extension if he gets traded. I'll take the chance. Like, you only have 1 first-rounder to give. Give Hardaway. I'm probably giving up a combination of Green and Kleba, too, if needed. Like,
Siakam would be awesome
as the 3rd piece next to Luka and Kyrie, then the rest of your role players. Yes, he's been a number 2 for a title team, Coop. If he's your number 3, I'm in.
Yeah, that team was great with Lowry and Van Fleet along with Leonard, obviously. But, I mean, look, if you get Siakam as the 3 with Luka and Kyrie, I think that's a team that can win the title.
That's a team. You get Siakam, like, I'm not saying it's championship or bust, but, like, you're disappointed if you're not in the conference finals.
No doubt about it. The Mavs would have sky-high expectations if they acquired Siakam.
Broke Mavs fan, if you could add 1 player to this Mavs roster right now for free, who would it be? 2011 playoffs, Dirk Nowitzki.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the best player in the world. That helps. I'm going to stick with current players here.
I'll give one, too. You can go first.
Okay, I'm going to go first. Give me healthy Paul George. I think a healthy Paul George would be unbelievable on this Mavs team.
Healthy Paul George.
The two-way player, the playmaking ability, the silky smoothness of Paul George. Oh, that would be awesome.
If you're talking about, like, somewhat, at least, like, somewhat conceivable, too, because, like, look, like, I would take, like, Steph over, maybe not Steph because you have 2 guards, but one of the best players in the league over Paul George. But George is somewhat attainable, I think. I don't think the Dallas Mavs have enough to get him. In that regard, maybe Miles Turner, finally. Like, if he plays like he did last year with his shot blocking and ability to score at all 3 levels, then, yeah, I mean, he would be intriguing as well. What seed will the Mavs be in the Western Conference? Let us know. Coop, if no other major moves happen, like say they sign a couple of minor free agents and roll with this center rotation, like, what's your expectations? Like, are they somewhere around the 5 seed, 6?
Yeah, 5 and 6 was going to be what I was going to say.
Avoid the play-in. That would be my expectation.
If you avoid the play-in, you had a good season if you're the Mavs. Obviously, you want to win a playoff series as well, but have to avoid the play-in, get that full week off before the playoffs, and try to go win a series.
I think they've done enough where, winning 45 to 48 games is attainable. I mean, you won 38 last year, and you actively tanked late in the season, and it was a disaster all year. So I think finding 7 to 10 more wins is doable.
I think they can get there.
And if you do that, you're probably the 5 or 6 seed. Speedo83, is Luka the MVP frontrunner again, or will Vegas change it up? I think the frontrunner is going to be Jokic. I mean, he probably should have won it.
He should have won it last year.
I think there was fatigue, and they gave it to Embiid. I think Jokic is the favorite. Giannis probably 2, if I had to guess, just on pure betting odds. Luka will probably be top 5, though. I'd probably say it's those 2, maybe Steph. I don't know if LeBron will be top 5, turning 39 years old in terms of preseason odds. Do they put Butler on there after his playoff run?
You know what? Give me Luka for MVP. It started today when we're filming this on July 7th. He got engaged to his now fiancée, Anna Maria. Luka engaged, win the MVP. How about winning the title,
too?
I
absolutely think he could win MVP. I'm just saying in terms of who's going to be the betting favorite before the season.
The betting favorite, it's probably Jokic.
It's going to be Jokic. And I think Giannis will be 2. After that, Luka could be right there.
We're rocking with our guy 77.
Let's go, baby. Nick Prather, what is the chance Tim Hardaway is traded? I'm going to say 50-50, Coop. I think the Mavs are definitely open to it. It's not a do-or-die situation. Tim fills a role. He's a good catch-and-shoot guy, but post-injury from 2 seasons ago, he just doesn't give you quite the slashing ability that he used to have. Like that year when essentially he became their second-best player, especially in the playoffs against the Clippers when they lost in 7. He was able to get to the basket some, slash. He's really just a catch-and-shoot guy now. He doesn't defend that much, so I think if they can flip him, they will.
Yeah, it just hasn't been the same since the injury. The Mavs, if the Mavs had Tim Hardaway in that Western Conference Finals against the Warriors, I would have loved to see what that series would have been like.
Yeah.
He was such a crucial part. He was playing his best basketball of his career before that injury as well. But yeah, I would say it's slightly above 50%. I'd go like more 55-60. I just think the Mavs ultimately would like to get off of that contract and let Jaden Hardy cook in that role.
Appreciate all of your questions here on Dallas Mavericks today. If we didn't get your questions answered, subscribe. We'll be doing this more, hopefully, in the future. Coop and I having a lot of fun being live, answering your questions. So appreciate all the love and support.